what I wish I'd known before I became the director was I wish I had known, and I wish I still knew, way more about financial management, accountancy. I mean, not to be an accountant, but just to understand those processes. I wish I'd known loads more about, and I wish I still knew more about things like business rates and the kind of bureaucracy around business administration, because again, those are areas I lead on and I've just had to learn by doing, and it means I've fucked it up a lot.
You change how you use a space anyway once you're into it. You can't know exactly how everyone's going to be in the space and how things are going to work and how things are going to flow until you've lived in it. And so basically knowing what works and what didn't at the beginning would obviously be amazing, but you just can't find that out until you live it for a bit and you go, oh, we need to change that. And I think being up for changing things is quite important, because sometimes you kind of feel like you need to just, we'll keep doing this and it'll be fine and we'll get there, versus knowing when to be like, right, no, stop, let's change this a bit. And I think that's been relevant with things like costs, memberships. At one point we had a co-working kind of thing going on in here as well. Things like that where you just kind of go, this isn't working, get rid of that and change it. But I think you only find it out when you do it.
More mindful recruiting, really sitting with time and thinking what we need. Boundaries to keep everyone. We've just worked on our kind of inclusive logo, which is a safe, welcoming, inclusive space for everyone. And if I'm, performing it how I want the ethos of the place to run, and my boundaries are a bit shot away sometimes, it's just not keeping everyone safe. So I think it starts with me about my expectations of this place actually, and how we're all going to look after each other, and I have to communicate that really strongly, and then I've found that everyone will respect that. And actually this is a brilliant piece of advice, it's not new, but by having my very boundaries which are wrapped around my values, I've got 5 personal values and they belong to Art for Space. If anyone oversteps that boundary, instead of it becoming emotional, it's just so fact-based for me. Like I will say, one of our boundaries is about connecting, right? And so if someone oversteps that boundary, I will say, look, I heard there's been something in the workplace, it might be gossiping, and I'll put it in a professional way, but I'll say, that just doesn't align with our connection and keeping everyone safe with wholesome conversations. Full stop. Just all the time, any difficulties, I just go to my 5 values, see if they align, and I can always wrap it around. And even with someone who comes to our services that I think we're not a good fit, their mental health needs are too high, and I think they need a more specialist service. I can genuinely align it to my values. Any difficulty that comes up, which is daily running a business, right? I just go, fact, what value does it align to? Deal with it in as succinct way as you can. Move on. Love, bless. Done.
Perfect. There's nothing I would have wanted to know before. Probably if you'd known exactly what you were getting yourself into, might not have applied for the job in the first place.
Running studios and residencies, people talk a lot about kind of boundaries, because they think it's not a 9-to-5 job, like in any way, especially running like a residency program. But I found actually, those boundaries blur massively, but that's what makes it so nice about the job, because it's kind of that time that you're spending in the studio, or going for a walk on the beach with an artist, or kind of a coffee or anything like that. And that's, I think, when the really important work happens, and for me that's really special.
I wish that we had known more about VAT, more about finance basically.
How to look after money properly, all the time. I know some stuff about finance. I need to know her shit about finance. We have a finance officer. She's in 3 days a week, I think, spread over the week. And then we have an external accountants who prepare our monthly managements. I suppose on the other side was actually how nice it is not knowing and having all those preconceived ideas of what it should or shouldn't be, and then being able to learn and enjoy the learning process about what it can do and how. And actually, the biggest thing I've learned is you can change it. You don't have to do this, or because you said that in that funding application doesn't actually mean you have to do that. You can go and talk to them, chat about it and change it.
I wish I had a better business understanding. I wish we didn't treat it as a hobby for as long as we did. I wish we valued our work more than we did. Yeah, but I think really thinking about when you're opening an organisation, and we know that now, just really making sure that you're adding probably, if you think you can do it in a week, probably give yourself 2. If you think you're going to be able to do it for 10 grand, probably you'll need 15. Just really making sure that your business model is thought through and that you give yourself those overheads, so it's not that you're just kind of surviving, but you're able to thrive. Get yourself mentors, professional business mentoring, not just arts. So, because when you're opening an arts organisation, you probably know what you're doing with respect to your programming and to the arts. Obviously, it's amazing to have mentoring from that, and we've benefited majorly by having mentoring from Icon Gallery, from Mark Birmingham, and New Arts Gallery, also working with those bigger organisations, or even organisations that are kind of similar to you, like Grand Union. We had Cheryl sharing their journey and talking about different things that they do. It's really helpful, but I think the business mentoring and really someone saying, okay, but what's in it for you? How is that going to benefit the organisation? How is that going to be sustainable after this? Really,
I wish we had known that we should have bought it rather than rented it. I'll say it again, we should have bought it rather than rented it. And I wish that I had had the skills at cash flow forecasting that I have now, because the reality is art spaces and community spaces, they're usually quite big. Every square foot in a space that you're renting, you're paying for. You're paying X number of pounds per square foot per year. And unless you're bringing in a factor of like 7 or 8 times the cost per square foot per year, your business isn't financially viable.
I don't think anything. I think if we'd known, it wouldn't have happened. You know, you just got to jump into things without thinking about it. I think, yeah, obviously there are a lot of people that, you know, make business plans and work things out, but I don't think Rose, I mean, I can't really speak for Rose, but I kind of get the feeling that if she'd actually stopped and thought it all through, it wouldn't have happened. I definitely wouldn't have got involved if I thought it through. I mean, one of the things, I work 2 days a week, and partly that's financially, because we don't have the money to pay full-time staff, but also I have some disabilities, which mean I can't work more than that. So I think for me, I think it's worked really well, and just being able to, you know, yeah, jump into it, make stuff happen. You know, we've really been able to make stuff happen with goodwill from other people, and just like, you know, skills from certain people that have been involved. Rob Burns, he's been one of the people that's been involved for years and years and years, and he's done a lot of the building, and studio members have done a lot of the building. So, I mean, maybe it would have been good to know that we could have managed to get a studio holder that was a bookkeeper or something like that. Like somehow, like we could have wished that we could have known that, yeah, bookkeeping, like accounts, filling in funding applications. If we could have known that those would have been such important things, I think, you know, to me it wasn't a consideration at all. I used to run a space in Bristol that was very small and I did all that myself. So it was kind of like I didn't have to worry about paying anyone, I didn't have to worry about the real legalities of anything. The rent was incredibly cheap, and yeah, I think, yeah, it's kind of like if we wished we'd known, maybe then it just wouldn't have happened at all. But if you actually stopped and thought about like what it would take out of people, like, I mean, there's times that Rose has been here, like it feels like 24 hours a day. She's got a child now, and obviously she's not living in Cornwall anymore, but you know, before then she was just here all the time solving all the problems and things like that, and I'm sure she didn't think that would be the case when she first set it up.